Hey, we're Ben and MP, and 2.5 years ago we bought this sinking ship and practically built it from the keel upwards thanks to an amazing team of shipwrights. It's taken us a while to get here, but we're now reaching a point where we can start finally calling this boat our home, and we're adding all these little cool bits on top of it, and we really can't wait to get into the water and live on board. Join us today as we're going to do some cool stuff on our engine, as well as working on the parts that are going to allow us to moor this boat in places we can only dream of right now. Home sweet home. Now that the rudder is in place, we can start working on many things. However, at the same time as working on many things that have to do with the rudder, I want to start working on this bow locker, and Matt's here to help me. And also, it's a much more fun job than doing some more polishing. Before it was fitting tightly, and now it should be loose still. Good. The goal, of course, with this is that no screws are visible from the outside, or what would a hinge and lock be. So we're going to really, unlike the other benches, try and get it as hidden as possible to make it secure. However, this is a bit thinner, which isn't an issue. We can just bend it over the edge with a piece of stainless. However, here, this bit is the same on the other side. This will be hanging over, and we don't want this. So we're going to eat into this with probably the multi-tool to get it as flush as possible. We've kind of bodged our way into this. The smaller hinges we could find are, like the ones that would fit width-wise, are a lot thinner, and we wanted some sturdy hinges. So we made the little groove in this over here, there, so it can fit. However, now this can fit in, which is a good thing, but this one is still sticking out, and I think it's slightly too thick and too narrow to bend over. I'm gonna get the cutting disc, cut the majority off, and then with the sanding disc, just flatten it a bit. See if it fits. Let's shut it. Whoa! Good. Let's take this off. Flip it that way. We were just about to install this when I realized it would be way better to have like a counterplate underneath. However, underneath we can't fit a full counterplate because of the frames of the boat. So we're going to have one counterplate covering one side and another one covering two on the other side, and then one will just have to be a lug nut, a lug screw. So what I've done right now, I've just gone and found the middle of each of these stainless steel counterplates. You want to know how thick? What's it, 6 millimeters? No idea what that is in inches. Go over it for this and this. have seen, I have drilled a few holes in this to get the hinges right, because I mean it's the first hinge I've ever placed inside a door. We have these huge cleats which go right there, and the rope leads that through that hole over there, nice and strong. However, we've just had some counterplates cut with Matt. He's gone now. Thank you so much for your help. Got one here and one here. Now there are 6 holes in the cleat, and there are only 5 holes here because one of them is under or hidden by a frame, so it's just going to be a big lug nut, or I'll see if I can get a threaded bar through it, but it's probably just going to be a lug nut. So that's now clean. It's countersunk. So I'm going to take this off, chuck a bunch of sikaflex in, cut the threaded bar to the right size, and put the nut on each side. First thing I have to do, which is already proving to be a difficult time, even drilling the holes, because that punya is in place, the big wooden cleat, is to cut the threaded bar all to the correct size. This nut on top on washer, and the counter plate, and the washer and the nut underneath are now kind of tightened, so I'm going to mark it, cut it, and then move on to the next one. But this is going to take a long time. Have a look underneath, it's very, very cramped area. I made the counter plate to align with the plate of the cleat. However, the wood was drilled in the beginning with a slightly thinner drill bit. Now they're all really tight and they're not exactly ending up where we want in the plate at the bottom. So I'm going to go through with a very long half-inch bit, and Nico's going to be under there making sure it goes through the plate, the hole in the plate that I made. And that way we should be able to have a nice straight half-inch hole. Mais pra fora. We finally managed to do them all. Of course, this is the last one that was always causing the issue, because the first one never causes an issue. But we've managed to make sure that all the holes going through it, it's like 12 centimeters thick, this covering board. But all the holes are going through to the counter plate, the stainless steel plate underneath. All 5 of them. This one, unfortunately, is going to be a lug nut, a really fat threaded one. So I'm not worried about that. But yeah, we're going to take this off, tape up the stainless, chuck the Sikaflex under it and tighten it.
This before, so tell me, darling, once again, would you say?
This is the last screw we're going to use on top of the frame that we couldn't access, but look at the thread on that. That is not coming loose. Our initial goal was to use 6 of these, but we thought, why not? Made a nice mess there. Why not use threaded bars to go all the way through with a counter plate?
When you know that you got nothing to fear.
Let's see if all the Sikaflex comes squeezing out.
Standing miles around, you never see it because you're nowhere near.
This cleat is now in place and looks like an absolute mess. The Sikaflex that is a mess on the wood is just going to be painted over, and the Sikaflex that is a mess on the stainless is going to be cleaned out. And the Sikaflex that's on me, well, we'll have to figure that out. Anyway, I did say I was going to work on the hatch, and it's getting dark. So I'm going to see if I can get this done because I'm so dirty with Sikaflex. Anyway, might as well. Got all the tools out already. Everything's dry that has to be dry. I put the hinges on. They look quite funny. I was wondering about welding this half hole shut, but I guess it doesn't matter. So that's going to go on there. That's going to go on there with a bunch of Sikaflex under it. Screw it shut. And then tomorrow we can work on the locking system that comes over here.
Chose this life, now it's choosing me. And how it interferes with the lives we lead. And I can't read your eyes, they're just sending hollow lies for free. And my left brain, it tells me never again, there's nothing left. There's nothing left. Well, just go home now. Your skin and bones, but there's no way of hiding your theft. You're successful in sending your problem from your stream.
I don't know if you can recognize this place. I bet you can. It's the engine room. This is our engine and we're about to install our cooling system that comes here. I just removed all the tapes that were protecting this, and now, yeah, time of truth. The engine will get even more colorful. Hora da verdade? Tá aí. When Ben wanted to buy this rubber hammer, I was against it because I thought it was just like a toy that we would never use. But at the end I said, well, let's get it anyway, because if we ever need it and we don't have it, you're gonna be upset with me. And I'm here to tell the whole YouTube, Lovey, you are right. Your hammer saved the day. Ela fica aí? Oi.
Back in the sunlight. This is located but loose, in place loose. Got all the tools. Made another little counterplate for the inner part and a small one for the outside. Rafa is down there. He's going to be on the bottom receiving the threaded bars, which are also cut, and putting the plate and washer and nut underneath and holding it tight while I tighten it up here. And of course it's going to be another messy day because I don't know how to do it otherwise. Yabá. Is it better to leave Sikaflex to dry, then use a chisel or something to scrape it off, or is it best to clean up as much as possible while it's still wet? Let me know. I've always wondered.
Caio, we're trying to work here, okay? We are here on this other side of the engine that we almost never show because it's under the stairs, because we're about to install the pulleys that go on this side together with all the rubber bands. I forgot the official name of that. So yeah, we're gonna work from here, so enjoy this different view. I don't know if you noticed, but today's helper is not me, it's Caio. Anyway, what I wanted to tell you is a fun fact that all the pulleys will be now yellow. I think I mentioned that before. It was actually your guys' suggestion on the comments that as the pulleys turn super fast, it would be nice if they have a different color, because before this first pulley we paint in the same color as the boat, as the block of the engine, which is white. So now we're making all the pulleys yellow, and of course we have to paint this one later, and I even think we'll have a sign on the engine room saying don't touch anything that's yellow. So yeah, for safety all the pulleys are now yellow, and I really like the looks of it too.
So, issue, but also not an issue, because this is going to work in our advantage, that this is the 12-volt alternator, which has to be able to move in and out to tighten the belt. This is the water pump, which also has a belt on. However, there's not enough space to fit them both. So we were either thinking of just welding another piece of steel. Excuse me. Come in. Come on. In. Go. Come on. Come on. Come on. Go. Come on. There. Back to business. Welding an extra piece onto here so we can just screw this on. However, it's also very cool to have a separate piece of metal that is screwed on, so we can also use it as a tightener of the belt. So I think we're just going to cut another piece, another plate, screw it on, and use it to tighten. Because this used to be on the other side, a complete mess, and we want to do it properly this time. And then we can use the other side maybe for the 24 volt.
Yeah,
we're going to see now. Yeah. Anyway, that will be.
Just one thing, this alternator is the old one. We still don't have the new one, but it won't be this because it's very wrecked.
You might think, why are we not removing this right now before we put the next plywood on? Is it still does its job, and we don't want to create styrofoam trash. I mean, that's the last thing you want to do. It looks ugly, kills turtles. So we're going to keep this in here, put the next plywood on top. We will make sure the plywood is nice and protected, but this is fine. And then soon we won't hear the engine at all when we're up here. So when this is installed, we'll finally start storing some stuff in here. I'm planning to empty out that container, start using it, start planning on what we're going to put here, and so on. That wasn't difficult. Now that the hinges are on the bow locker hatch, also the lock system is in it, we just need a lock, a padlock. Also the cleats are in, so no water's coming in there. We're just going to need to put that windlass and the support of the anchor in place, and that's practically all of it in the bow. I'm really excited. I hope we can get that done today. I remember a very, very long time ago, and to get away from all this noise, I remember a very, very long time ago, Nezo built the blocks that go under the deck that kind of act as counterplates. So they are ready. They've been in the way for about 6 months. But yeah, now we're gonna put the windlass in place, paint underneath it with epoxy primer paint to get it the deck protected, and then put Sikaflex on it, and then the windlass. So nice to have this thing. Even this could be a handle. You got it? So we have these two over here, which Nezo made a long time ago, which go under the deck because you don't want the windlass to be fastened just onto a, what is it, 3 centimeter, 3.5, 4 centimeter deck. I'll write on the screen what it is. So this is what the threaded bar goes through, and this will go in between the beams and be fastened onto the beams as well. So a lot more force can be put onto the windlass without our poor deck having to suffer. Oh. Now that the windlass is gone, this looks quite humid and messy, so we're going to sand it down, put the windlass in place, mark around it, and make sure the bit that it's on top of, and even through all the holes and stuff, is nicely painted, so that even though there will be Sikaflex around it and no water will get in, if anything does, it's not going to cause any rot over here. This is, for me, one of the most important bits, so whatever water gets under it doesn't cause the wood to rot. Huh? Mas assim. It is so hot in here and the angles are not very comfortable. However, you can see why we want these, just so that the windlass is not only on 2 beams but also it's kind of all being held together, except we can only get the impact driver in so far until we have to manually do the rest. You can see the holes in here where the water's been coming in from where the wires are going through, and that's why we're doing this, to prevent any water from coming in, so we can start preparing this room for storage and make it a very nice and ventilated room. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned because soon we're going to work more on our engine, propeller, prop shaft. We're going to get the hull ready to launch and loads more cool stuff to actually turn it into a home. Because I'm quite crazy with ideas and I come up with things that I think are possible and I go for it to make it possible. Like that little round table thing on the transom. What do you think of turning that middle bit into a liftable fridge? dry ice out the side. Anyway, stay tuned because that's the type of stuff that I'm looking forward to the most. And thank you so much, Joseph, Morton, Wiley, Dwayne, Douglas, and Nick for leaving us a super thanks. It's much appreciated and it really helps towards our journey. See you guys all next week. And also Matt, if you're watching this, thanks so much for heading over. Thanks for the help. See you in Annapolis maybe?